that though we call it World Environment Day, I would say it is actually Human Protection Day. I would go back to the history of mankind. How old has man been on this particular planet? Man has been not more than 50 lakh years old on this particular planet. How old is this planet? This planet is 4.6 billion years old. So who tends to be older? The Earth tends to be older, right? So in that case, who are we to save the Earth? Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves from the deterioration of the best of the climatic conditions that we have.
नमस्कार, मी रचना लचके बागवे. 365 दिवस 365 स्टोरीज आपण कव्हर करत आहोत. आज वर्ल्ड एन्व्हायरमेंट डे आहे आणि त्या निमित्ताने आपल्याकडे खूप स्पेशल गेस्ट आहेत जे गेली 28 वर्ष प्रोफेसर आहेत. जिओग्राफी आणि एन्व्हायरमेंट हा विषय ते शिकवतात. आपल्यासोबत आहेत मनोज कुमार देवणे सर. आपण जाणून घेऊया त्यांच्याबद्दल. नमस्कार सर.
नमस्कार
सर, तुमच्या कामाच्या प्रवासाबद्दल सांगा ना.
Good morning to all, and wishing you a very happy World Environment Day. As we understand that this year's theme is Beat Plastic Pollution. Before coming to the theme, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Professor Manojkumar Devne, and as Rachna has introduced me, for the last 28 years, I've been in the profession of teaching. The first 15 years of my profession, I have taught in Mumbai, a very prestigious college, the Sidnam College of Commerce and Economics, where I taught environmental studies. I also taught environmental management with the BBA section, BMS section of the Sidnam College, and I took environmental management with the MMS section of the Sidnam Institute as well. 2010, I have shifted to Pune, again a very prestigious college, the SP College Pune, and which has a postgraduate geography department. And as geography is a subject which is very close to environment, since being here, I've taught subjects like disaster management, natural disaster management, human disaster management, and associated things. I've also been associated with delivering lectures, public lectures, as well as academic lectures on climate change. And I continue to do so to date.
The climate change is a very important topic. So what is your thoughts over it?
Rachna, primarily, let me state here that people in general, the layman, let us say, tends to have a bit of misconceptions as far as climate change is concerned. We need to get to the context of climate change in the present scenario. Because if we see climate change in an academic sense, climate tends to change and it keeps on changing every day. Climate is a very dynamic thing. And to go into a bit of academics of that, well, climate is related to the energy within the earth and of course that the energy that reaches the earth from the sun. Now we know that the sun is not as hot as it was when it came into origin, say for example 4 or 5 billion years ago. The same thing goes with the energy in the interior of the earth. Now just like this energy falls at both of these celestial bodies, the sun and the earth, consequently obviously the effect of this insolation or heat will go on decreasing, and as a consequence there is going to be a very regular natural climate change. What we speak about climate change, or what we understand about climate change, is more related to how human beings are associated with this. I would rather say how human beings are of say, let us say, last 5 centuries or so. I would connect that to the Industrial Revolution and the period after that, as to how the use of fossil fuels and say the excessive extraction of resources, etc., have been responsible for climate change. I call it as anthropogenic climate change as such.
Sir, it has been seen that there are unseasonal rains now. The temperature has also increased. So this is affecting the agriculture area. So what are your review on it, and how can we control it?
Well, here again, there are some misconceptions, as if we as Indians in German, there are, I'll just start again. Well, we need to understand that there are some misconceptions as far as we Indians are concerned. Definitely, yes, there have been some changes as far as the weather patterns are concerned, but a layman understands the weather and climate in a very different way. Say, for example, we consider ourselves to be living in the monsoon climatic zone. And for us, rains should start in June and they should end in October. Any rains beyond that, we call them as unseasonal rain. We forget to realize that there has not been a single month in the history of climate as far as India is concerned that we may not have had rains. And these are not unseasonal rains. Okay, these are weather phenomena which affect, and uh, it's like nowadays it has so been happening that every other rain which falls outside this purview of June to September is called as unseasonal, and the layman tends to label it as unseasonal, or some people even start jumping to conclusions that this is climate change as such. Definitely it is not that way, but recent studies have shown that there have been some changes in patterns in which this rain occurs as such. In the sense, the intensity with which these rain is falling and other phenomena like wind speeds and gust storms, etc., have certainly increased. This has a lot to do with the infrastructural development. I would again come to the anthropogenic development that human beings have caused around us. The last point in your question was concerned agriculture. Yes, definitely this change in weather and effectively the change in climate is going to have an impact as far as agriculture output is concerned. For a country like India, which even today is heavily dependent on agriculture, with a population of 140 crores of people to feed, we definitely have our concerns to address too.
So we have been seeing continual air pollution has increased. So what are the precautions we should take to reduce it?
Uh, Well, as far as air pollution and the increase in air pollution and precautions are concerned, we should look at it from a more academic point of view. I would rather say, for example, when I spoke about 140 crore of population, we need to understand that when we understand it as a term, it is a number, but we need to further split this population. And I would identify vulnerable sections of this population when we are actually speaking about uh, air pollution and climate change and the impact that climate change would be having on this population. Just like in economics, we tend to divide people into say the self-reliant people and the dependent people as such. Similarly, as far as effects of climate change and pollution is concerned, we can actually divide this population into say the elderly population, the graying population, and the younger population. I refer to this basically because at these ages, the lungs tend to be a bit weaker, or I would say they are not accustomed or acclimatized to the regular procedures and sudden changes that may take place from season to season. And this is so very obvious that when season changes, a significant section of the population tends to fall ill. They'll have cough problems and they'll have fever and so on and so forth. So it's the adjustment that sections of population will have to these changes as such. So as a consequence, younger population with weaker respiratory systems may have more concerns as far as the population the pollution problem is concerned. Similarly, as we grow old, the organs of course are going to start decaying, particularly the senior citizens 60 plus as such, and their response to respiratory issues is obviously going to be some concern once again. With that reference, I would further go on to say that the particulate matter that we in academics call it so with reference to air pollution as such, that also is nowadays a concern. Here I would go a bit further to say that with all the machines, etc., that we are nowadays using as far as infrastructural development is concerned, you'll see that construction, it could be construction of roads, or it could be construction of buildings, and it could be construction of bridges, etc. All of this requires a lot of high level machinery like bulldozers and poke lanes and so on and so forth. The speed at which they crush the lithosphere, I would say, coming back to the geography aspect of it, is higher. So you'll see that it gets reduced to very finer particles. And finer the particles, the easier they are to float. As a consequence, you'll see that nowadays scientists are speaking about PM10 and PM2.5, the percentages of these actually having increased around us. And again, coming back to the vulnerable population, which could be inhaling these, would obviously be prone to the subsequent respiratory disorders that could be a fallout of all these things.
So this year's World Environment Day theme is plastic pollution. And since decades, we have been seeing that plastic usage is increased, and most of the times we use the plastic which is non-degradable, and in return, there is a plastic pollution um on land as well as in water. So, what is your take on this?
As far as plastic is concerned, Rachna, let me go into a bit of academics of plastic, I would rather say. We need to go back to the phase wherein man found out the use of plastic. Why did man feel that we need to use plastic as such? We need to go back 6, 7, 8 decades ago, wherein man was actually depleting the forest resources like anything, basically because the demand for wood, for furniture and construction, etc., was very high. At that point of time, there was an environmental concern about the droppage in the percentage of forest. So man, or rather, yeah, human beings were on a lookout for a cheaper substitute for the same as such. And in comes in the invention of plastic, and we start using plastic. Plastic gains popularity basically because it's a very cheap substitute. But unfortunately, this cheap substitution of plastic has seen to be the menace that we are calling it today, to the fact that this year's theme is beat plastic pollution as such. I would rather say plastic is not at all bad. It is the human habit of littering plastic around that is bad. Basically because we understand the science of plastic, that it's not biodegradable as such. Okay, and while it is non-biodegradable on one hand, you'll see that the other aspect of it is it's very cheap, it's easily available, it's malleable, it's ductile in the sense that it can be rolled into sheets and you can pull out strings out of it. So all this utility of plastic actually for mankind, and unfortunately the ability of human beings to take care of its littering habit of plastic is very unfortunate, I would rather say.
Okay, so what should be the precautions people should take while using plastic?
Uh, when we speak about the precautions, I could divide the society into two economic levels as such, in the sense that we find a lot of affluent sections of the society who are already very aware of these problems, and they try to say they make an effort actually to create a sensitization of how we should be handling and disposing plastic and so on and so forth. That's one aspect or one section, but this accounts to be a very small percentage of the population. Unfortunately, you'll see the larger section of the population, it could be the population of the world, or we could be referring to on a smaller scale to the population of India as such. Okay, where hunger and other things are larger problems, I would rather say. I would actually place it as a hierarchy or a priority. Okay, what section of the society identifies what is the priority as such? Okay, someone who is hungry would not be concerned about plastic pollution, right? It's someone who is actually well placed, and I would say education also plays an important role. However, you'll see that hunger will always override education. So as far as you are going to have people who are not going to be having an access to resources, basic resources as such, they would not consider these to be serious problems. And again, coming to the fact that plastic being a very cheaper substitute, people find it very handy to use it and throw it out. Okay, so there needs to be an awareness. And when we speak about this awareness, many a times when we speak about awareness campaigns, we point fingers at government. It could be the central government, state government, or local cell governments. Or at times, okay, those who are known to more things, they would say that what are NGOs doing all about this. But it's so very common phenomena that when we point fingers at others, we forget that four fingers are actually pointing towards us. So when we speak about beating plastic pollution, I think it should start at an individual level as such. And when we speak about individual level, it could be an household level, it could be your office level, it could be your school level, and so on and so forth. So, for example, we have initiated a very interesting thing in our college as such, okay, that we have shifted back to say glass mugs instead of plastic, as far as plastic cups, as far as consumption of beverages in the form of tea and coffee is concerned. We have actually come up with water purifiers at various locations, and we fill in utensils with that instead of using plastic bottles as far as water consumption units are concerned. These are very small things, and of course, as I keep repeating and I underline the fact that our habit to litter, somewhere we need to control the habit to litter things around. Plastic is, as I said, very cheap. Okay, you are not going to throw away your watch, or you're not going to throw away your accessories and so on and so. What do you throw away? What you throw away? Something that you have, you feel that the use is over, and the throwing of it is not going to cost you economically. Consequently, you'll see that plastic tends to be at the receiving end. We throw it, and when we see it in the society, we say that, oh God, plastic is creating a lot of pollution. I again repeat that it's not plastic, it's our habit to litter. Okay, so that habit to litter needs to be controlled somewhere, and we need to find further ways to actually control this littering as such.
So you have been teaching geography as a subject since last many years, and climatology is one of the part of it. Um, we have been listening to the term of global warming since many years. So what exactly is global warming? Please explain.
Yeah. Once again, being a teacher, I can't help going into the basics every time. You'll see that when we speak about global warming, the common man has a very restricted, myopic view about global warming. But I would go back to the term climate change. What does climate change actually mean? Okay, let me explain here, Rachana, that climate change is basically moving of the Earth's climate between two extremes. Now, what are these two extremes? That on one hand, the Earth is going to get very cold, and on the other hand, the Earth is going to get very hot. Now, there are going to be natural elements which are going to cause this. Okay, the cooling of the Earth, okay, which we call as the ice age, and the warming of the Earth, which is called as global warming. Okay, coming back to your question as to what is global warming, it is being seen that elements which cause or which trap heat in them are on a continuous increase of late, particularly after the Industrial Revolution. The use of fossil fuels, for example, right from wood to coal and now petrol and various forms of fossil fuels as such, the rate at which we are consuming it, okay, the exhaust that we lead out of it is actually causing a lot of exhaust of carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide, along with water vapor, in fact, let me also say, and methane, all of these are considered to be global warming elements. So obviously, if the carbon dioxide percentage is going to increase, okay, it is going to trap in more of energy. If it traps in more of energy, okay, obviously the average temperature is going to increase. And if the average temperature is going to increase, it is going to have its own problems. And this is going to be termed as global warming. Let me here again remind you that as far as human race is concerned, okay, if we speak about Darwin and if we speak about evolution of species as such, every species will have its own spectrum. Okay, consequently, the human beings have been sustaining on this planet basically because for the last, say, 15,000 years, we have been having best of the climatic conditions as such. Unfortunately, if these climatic conditions tend to aggravate either way, okay, the Earth tends to get cooler or the Earth tends to get warmer, obviously this is going to have an impact on the human race on the surface of this planet. Okay, we all, in fact, I would say that the last 100 years, we have already started facing this. We are trying to mitigate it, but the rate at which we are destroying say the climate fabric, which is favorable for human beings on this planet, is much faster than the various ways in which we are trying to control it.
So last question would be on the occasion of World Environment Day, what message would you like to share with us?
Uh, this would be a bit sarcastic, but let me emphasize here that yes, when it comes to 5th of June, normally what do we do? Okay, schools will come up with rallies and campaigns, and will hold those placards, save the earth and save the planet, and so on and so forth. I would go back to the history of mankind. How old has man been on this particular planet? Man has been not more than 50 lakh years old on this particular planet. How old is this planet? This planet is 4.6 billion years old. So who tends to be older? The Earth tends to be older, right? So in that case, who are we to save the Earth? Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I would say that we should actually save ourselves. Okay, I from the deterioration of the best of the climatic conditions that we have around us. If we are going to deteriorate it, the earth is not going to be it's not going to cost anything as far as the planet earth is concerned. It was there billions of years before human beings have walked on this planet. It is going to be there for a few billion years after human beings go extinct from this planet. So we need to realize that we are not controllers of this particular planet. We don't own this planet. We share this planet at the right moment now. And of course, we need to pass this legacy to the future generation of not only human beings, all other species that are that have the right of living around and along with us as such. So let us understand this message very clearly, that though we call it World Environment Day, I would say it is actually Human Protection Day, and all say the aspects that can be done for protecting the best conditions for human beings on this particular planet need to be adhered to at the most urgent level, I would say.
Thank you, sir, for such wonderful information. And truly, I think it should be World Protection Day, Human Protection Day, as you has mentioned, because we should protect ourselves. Our future generation also we should protect by protecting the environment. And thank you once again for giving such a wonderful information on World Environment Day. And I would request all our viewers to be responsible and sensible at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It has been a privilege.
Thank you, sir.